Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. I know what you're thinking. Another video? Dave, another video? You just uploaded one last night. And then a couple of days prior to that, you uploaded like two. Like, what the hell is going on? Are we getting a Dave McRae video every single day? No, calm down, okay? No, you're not. Because you won't be able, you're not going to be subjected to this every single day, okay? It's totally cool. I won't do that to you because I can hardly be subjected to myself every single day. Having said that, it's Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. We celebrate Thanksgiving the second Monday in October, so it's our long weekend this weekend. So I had some time this afternoon to upload a video, and I wanted to sort of get this out there because I was doing some more thinking about the subject matter and the content that I was talking about in my last video, which of course was last night. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's the last video prior to this one. And I was talking about those two quotes, one from Entertainment Weekly, which I had already basically touched on a couple of weeks prior to that. So it's the less important of the two. I think some people thought it was a new quote, a new insight with new information, but really Entertainment Weekly was just sort of reciting what the official press release had mentioned when Jamie Lee Curtis was announced as coming back. So I was sort of making that point to sort of calm everybody down. And then the second quote, which I think is actually the more interesting of the two, and nobody's really talking about it. Just to quickly recap, there was an interview with Jason Blum where he was asked, did you have a conversation with John Carpenter about his original idea for Halloween 4? Basically implying that idea, do you think there's going to be anything like that in this new film? And Jason Blum's response was, well, no, I didn't have that conversation, but that David might have, referring to David Gordon Green. But I just find it interesting, and I know that some people might think that I'm reaching a little too far, and that I might be looking, I might be reading too much into it. But nonetheless, I do work in the industry. I talk to a lot of producers and publicists and managers, and I know what rhetoric is and sort of, what people say to sort of keep the conversation going and keep the interview going, and, what's not said by what's being said, if you know what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying that this is, applies here. I'm just saying that it caught my interest. My antennas went up because Jason Blum, again, said, no, I didn't, but that David Gordon Green might have. And I thought, well, hang on a second. So it's possible, according to Jason Blum. Now, of course, you would have to ask David Gordon Green this. And if I was somebody who had an interview with David Gordon Green, or I knew that I was going to be interviewing David Gordon Green coming up, that would be one of the first questions I would ask him. Now, he's very likely to lie to me if he had, but it doesn't hurt to ask the question, right? Because I want to know. I want to get a response from him regardless of what he's going to say. I want to have a response from him in regards to this. Because if he did, in fact, have that conversation with John Carpenter, that could potentially be very telling with the direction of this new film. Again, I'm not here to make a prediction that that is exactly what they're going to do. I'm just simply saying that I find it particularly interesting that, according to Jason Blum, David Gordon Green very well may have had that conversation with John Carpenter. And then, of course, you think about John Carpenter, and you think about his relationship, and you think about Halloween 2, and you think about how he doesn't, and you think about what, and then you start to kind of go, oh, wait a minute here, pieces start to sort of fall into place a bit. Now, a lot of you people out there who commented on my last video are sort of split between it all, right? Some of you think, well, that's an interesting take. That might be kind of interesting. And some of you are like, well, that's fucking shit. That's totally stupid. I don't want a spiritual Michael Myers. What is spirit, ghost? That just sounds like Friday the 13th part 5, and it's not really him. Again, I'm not saying they are going to do that. But you have to keep in mind that John Carpenter's original idea was not for other people to embody Michael Myers. That wasn't his original idea. That was just a suggestion that I thought is something that they could play with down the road. That wasn't Carpenter's original idea. Carpenter's original idea was, again, that the repression of banning Halloween and the masks and not talking about anything, and don't say anything, don't talk about anything, pretending that never happened, essentially trying to move on, trying to suppress it, trying to repress it, like somebody who's been through some sort of horrible, traumatic thing in their life, and they keep it inside. It's likely to what? manifest and come out again in other ways later down the road. And that was sort of this idea that Carpenter was playing with Michael Myers, that repression ironically brings him back. Now, the question is how is he brought back? If he really died in the fire, is he literally brought back? Is he a ghost? Is he a spirit? Is it the essence? Is he there? He's not there? You know, we're not 100% sure yet how that would have transpired. But we do know that repression brings him back. He manifests himself back, which I thought was a really interesting take. So if David Gordon Green and Danny McBride have had that conversation with John Carpenter, it's fascinating and interesting, and that's all I meant about it. So this is what I was thinking about last night in the potential direction, taking into account everything that I said in my previous video. This is a possible angle that they're going to take. It is physically Michael Myers in this new movie. It is the 60-year-old organic Michael Myers, right? Okay. Now, we don't know where he's been for 40 years. We don't know what's going on, all right? Because regardless of whether you pick up after Halloween 1 or Halloween 2, you have to justify where he's been for 40 years, okay? And if it's a sequel to Halloween 2, you have to justify how he survived the fire and where he's been for 40 years. Maybe you're thinking too much into it. Look, if they are going back to the roots, if they are going back to the Michael Myers we know and love from John Carpenter's original Halloween, right? Pretend that Halloween 2 doesn't exist for just a moment. We're going back to that Michael Myers, the Michael Myers that we last saw being shot 6 times and falling off the balcony. That is the last time we or anybody has ever seen him. Then the justification could be something as simple as, we don't know where he's been. He's the boogeyman. Look, there are thousands of people that go missing all over the world every year who are never seen again. There are thousands of people who run away or leave their jobs or leave their homes who are never seen again. And yes, some of them might be the, result of a homicide, and it's unfortunate, absolutely. But some of them just get up and leave, and they're never seen again. And then like 30 years later, you find out they're married with 6 kids in Toledo, Ohio. I mean, it does happen. It's not unprecedented for people to disappear. And that's a regular person, not the boogeyman, right? So here you have this guy who's mortal, right? Who's human for all intents and purposes, but he's got this supernatural vibe to him, right? Or as John Carpenter said in that 1999 interview, a slight supernatural edge where it's kind of like maybe this guy's not totally human, right? He's the boogeyman, right? Was that the boogeyman? As a matter of fact, it was. So maybe the justification will simply be that we don't know. He's just been gone and people have been looking for him for 40 years. People don't know what's happened to him. And maybe the town of Haddonfield has been on edge for 40 years because they're uncertain of whether or not he's going to come back. They're sort of waiting for him to come back. And Laurie Strode has moved far away from Haddonfield because she doesn't want to be there when he does come back. But somehow she's roped back into the whole thing, okay? So maybe that's what we're going to get. And it plays on all the wonderful things we love about John Carpenter's Halloween in terms of the aspect ratio, in terms of the camera angles, in terms of the mood, in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the there, not there. You think you see him, maybe you do, maybe you don't, the music, of course, as well. And they bring him back to set maybe a more cerebral, more psychological series after that. Now, look, I know a lot of you guys, especially judging from your comments on my last video, are not really crazy on that, take that John Carpenter had because you're emotionally attached to the Michael Myers that you know and love. What became of Michael Myers? Many of you do love Halloween 4 and 5 and 6 and H2O and even Resurrection. Some of you really like it. Some of you would rather this be a sequel to Resurrection, for goodness sakes. So you're emotionally attached to that idea of Michael Myers. But the fact of the matter is that you have to begin the process of letting that go. But let's hypothetically say you don't have to let it go. Let's hypothetically say they're going to keep a physical Michael Myers alive and through, several more films. But then you have to start thinking about his age. You don't necessarily have to think about it in the first part, okay? Because it's not unprecedented for somebody who's 61 years old to come back and raise a bit of hell, especially if there's this slight supernatural edge to him, right? After all, he is the boogeyman. Maybe in terms of Michael Myers, age ain't nothing but a number. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But if you want a physical Michael Myers there, the age will have to be addressed addressed at some point, because if this is hugely successful, and if it does turn into a series from that point on, unless you start doing prequels and what was Michael Myers up to, between, 1 and 2, and it's like, which we don't fucking need. We don't need to know what the hell Michael Myers was doing in 1986, okay? We don't need to know that. At least I don't need to know that, because then you're justifying motive, and then, you're implementing character, and you're bringing this backstory into it, and Michael Myers, of course, as we know, is the absence of all that. So it doesn't need to be explained. It's irrelevant. But the point I'm making is that if you want the physical Michael Myers there, what are we going to have if this is successful and 2 or 3 more movies are made? What, is he going to be 74? I mean, you got to start thinking about that maybe a cerebral, psychological sort of angle is the only way to go to keep him alive in the original incarnation of what John Carpenter wanted, of what truly is scary. So you have to keep that in mind. Again, I'm not saying they are going to do that or any of this. I'm saying that this could be an angle to keep in mind, so that they are going to bring back the physical Michael Myers in Halloween, and we're going to get a great return, sort of a soft reboot, everything we love about that original movie and everything that's there, and it's going to be totally awesome, but it's setting up perhaps a more cerebral psychological series. That's something to keep in mind as well. Anyways, comment below and let me know your thoughts about what I just said. I just had to sort of elaborate, extend my feelings on what I was talking about last night in last night's video. Man, passionate, boys, passionate. If you want to follow me on Facebook.com/manythingsdave McRae. McRae is MCRAE. Facebook.com/manythingsdave McRae. You can follow me there. Also, again, I know I say this, but I'm going to be saying this a lot leading up to the event. On Tuesday, October the 31st, 2017 at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me right here on this YouTube channel. I will be watching the original Halloween. Now, obviously, you guys won't be able to see or hear it for copyright reasons, but I want you guys to bust out your copies of Halloween and watch along with me. The chat room will be open. You guys can ask me all sorts of questions, whatever you want. Keep it Halloween-centric if we can. I mean, if you want to ask if I have a cat or not, oh, sure, okay, fine. I do. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So that's Tuesday, October the 31st, Halloween night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on my YouTube channel. In the meantime, I'm going to just enjoy the rest of the Thanksgiving weekend. I might be back on Monday if that Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer, which has been rumored to drop on Monday, October 9th during Monday Night Football. I don't watch football, and I probably won't watch it on the TV either, because it'll be like online 8.7 seconds later. But I might do a video with my reaction to that, so we'll see what happens. Comment below and let me know your thoughts, folks. I find this really interesting. Talk to you soon. Cheers.